give us the like, the thumbs up. We really appreciate it. We're doing this for free, so please keep watching. We want to get more of you guys involved, and we are happy to make this like an interactive show. So we love questions coming in and all that stuff. And if you want to sign up for BetQL, I think it's a great time to do it. They've got some really, really hot takes about some NFL stuff, and they've been pretty on point in the past with NFL, and they've dominated in the NBA from what I've seen, and same thing with MLB. So you can join BetQL with a 20% off code using the promo code BobbyFi. Anyway, having covered that stuff, I want to get into some MLB today. I want to get into some NBA. I'm some PGA. I'm used to the NBA. But Sheets, real quick before we get into the NBA and the MLB and the PGA, how about the NBA last night? That was pretty great stuff.
It was amazing. I mean, it really is. To think that, I don't know, man. I didn't even think they'd play any basketball at all for the whole season after we went into shutdown. And they pulled it off, and the level of competition has been just through the roof. You know what? There's something to be said. I mean, again, you don't want to make the people do this, but when you got guys without distractions, focused on their freaking game, with nothing else to do but grind and practice and focus on what they got to do without worrying about the freaking fans, like getting on their cases and stuff like that. I don't know, man. These guys are really good. And we talked about that a couple of times. They're all really good. And, look, it's definitely a team game. But more than anything in basketball, just some of these individual performances on a game level and on a individual play level. I mean, that Bam thing is just freaking like bordering on legendary, man. I mean, that was just freaking insane. I mean, because remember the way the thing all happened, Tatum has been just on another freaking level, pre-COVID and post-COVID, right? And he's been just freaking dominating, and he's just basically unstoppable. I mean, he has that mid-range game where he just rises above everybody. He takes it to the rack. And they had it, they gave him the ball. They cleared out for him. And I'm like, okay, here we go. He's gonna close him out. And Bam just went up and just freaking, just eradicated it. It was just amazing.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. And I said it last night, and I'm not a person who's prone to making overstatements about things like being the greatest I've seen, especially for something I love as much as the NBA. But that was the biggest defensive play in NBA playoff history, in my opinion. Especially in a conference finals game. I don't remember any game ever ending like that. Not to mention that it was probably the individual best block I've seen this year, because he actually didn't even have the angle. I mean, his hand bent back. It was incredible. What a finish, and then what an incredible game by the Nuggets. The Clippers, everybody's pouring on today, and other people can do that. I'll do that some other time. I'll make fun of them. They're our LA rival-ish. I guess not really rivals. But honestly, I just think you got to take your hat off a little bit to this Denver team. It's pretty incredible to have the back-to-back 3-1s that they've been down. They've been only in Game 7s ever. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic have never played in a series without a Game 7. And my Lakers, I still think I like them to win the series, but I think they might be in a little bit of trouble, and I'm not so sure I even like them to win the series. So we'll see about that. We'll talk a little bit more about that when the NBA comes back up. But let's get into some baseball and some PGA today. Also, remember, again, like and subscribe and drop in any QQs anytime along the way. We'd love to hear from you guys. So I'm just getting this out on Twitter now, so hopefully we'll have some people popping in shortly. And Sheets, let's take it away. We'll I sort of liked the way we did it yesterday with the Major League going position by position, but I'm also happy to go game by game. So what would you prefer to do today for the people out there? I know that we got some mixed people liked it the other way, people like it this way. I don't know which one to go with.
Doesn't really matter to me. It's like they said on Movie Talk Radio, it's your show, Barry.
All right. Well, let's do position by position because I think it's interesting. And we'll talk about both sides a little bit as well. On DraftKings specifically, we talked about this before. I'm having a hard time not just playing Cole and DeGrom. I don't really, other than, you can make the McCullers argument and the Singer argument, but you're really talking about upgrading maybe one or two bats because there's enough value out there. That you can use as one-offs, that you can use as mini stacks, whatever. I just think I'm going to end up playing those two. If I was playing one lineup, I think that's the way I would go.
If I were, and I said this to you within the first 3 days of us ever meeting, when I was asking questions about DFS, if I were the type to play $1 million a day, I don't know if anybody plays that much, but if I were the type to play hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a day in DFS, again, this is the way I would behave. I would really treat it like a real corporation. And I would have people really working for me at every stadium and arena in sports. Like if I were going to play NBA $500,000 a night, I would have somebody just checking out injuries, checking out whatever, talking to as many people as possible. And I would do the same for baseball to some extent. And the reason I bring that up is this McCullers thing coming off the injury is actually a really big deal. Like if you knew for sure, right, that he's totally chilled, he's cool, he's going to pitch his full allotment of pitches, then he could be a good play. You know what I mean? Like nobody's a lock and whatever it is. He had his other issues anyway. But like with this kind of like doubt about, what's going to happen, he's a little fishy. What's happening is, like you said, like people that are, relying on projections, what they'll do is they'll look it up and over the course of the last however long projections work, McCullers got some good numbers, right? So they're gonna throw up there. He's gonna look like a good point per dollar play. The thing that's going for him from an ownership perspective, sort of, is that he's got that IL thing tag like right on him, and people still don't want to play that. I don't think people are that dumb to think he's still on the IL. But
I'll tell you what, if there was it was an early playoff 4-game basketball slate going on too, I think that stuff would really, really matter. I really do.
Yeah.
We've also got the U.S. Open tomorrow, so there's things going on, but it's not quite as intense as we've seen in certain days. But I don't think it's going to matter quite as much today. But I think he's still going to get popular.
But the more I thought about it, and again, after we hung up, I built some more lineups and stuff, is that, a couple of things. Number one, I neglected to really emphasize in my analysis the import of the weakening of the Philadelphia lineup, with no Hoskins, no Real Muto, who's confirmed out, right? The Philly lineup,
but we're assuming he's out.
I think he is out.
Yeah.
So I mean, DeGrom is basically, I don't want to say the same matchup as I would say very similar to Cole at this point. So and I was spindling around with it to get both those guys in. You can get some stuff. You don't have to play. You don't have to play crap to do it. So I've come around to your thoughts on those pitchers actually.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think people are going to look at it as the cash game build. Actually, I really do, that they're going to go this route. I just think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. Like, how my thoughts are about these things. You got to try and. I'll make pivots on pitchers, but I'd rather try and take my safest top upside pitchers. If my top pitchers have the highest floor and the highest ceiling, I'll just take it.
And I got some hitters. I got some teams to go after. We could talk about this.
Let's get into it, because we'll talk position by position, but then we'll, as we go, we'll talk about stacks, and then we'll sort of touch on them at the end, I figure. But those are the pitchers. I think that you have an interesting potential if you did try something really different and paid up for multiple bats. Maybe you could argue playing McCullers and Brady Singer might be an interesting path. Certainly will be an interesting kind of a build, and you could really spend up wherever you want. I don't think it's optimal, but I think that there might be, if they put up 20 fantasy points each and DeGrom and Cole put up 30, I think you're still in great shape as long as those extra bats really do pay off for you. So that would be the other kind of weird build I'd consider, or using even a Kyle Gibson. But I'm just mentioning those names. These are not what I'm going to do. That's just some ideas.
You want to go to first base?
Let's start with catcher.
Oh, all right. Look at you, ruining my alphabetizing.
Oh, sorry about that. I always just go.
Right. So catchers, I don't know who's playing, but my from a value perspective, I wouldn't mind. It's a shitty matchup, but Jeffers is fine at 2,300. But with guys that can actually put up scores, Sal Perez, Garneau, if you want to pay up for catcher again. I don't know if the build with the DeGrom Cole is going to do that, but Perez and Garneau both look pretty good. And then it's kind of a drop for me. Carson Kelly, that kind of stuff again. So for me, if I didn't pay up for either Perez or Garneau, I'd probably try to go down to Jeffers or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably if you're paying down, I'm fine with any of that. It's kind of gross,
yeah.
D'Arnaud, and I think that the pivot off of D'Arnaud, if he's in the lineup, would be Tyler Flowers in the same game, batting eighth with nearly the same price. You're just going to get an incredibly – look, he's not as good of a play as D'Arnaud, but you're getting incredible value. I think that that my favorite catcher, just overall, might actually just flat out be Severino for Baltimore. And it is partially because I like the Baltimore stack, at least a mini stack from Baltimore, maybe not the full stack, but I do like them. And that's one way to go. And then the Yankees lineup is going to just keep getting better. The run total has literally gone up by like almost a full run today. I want to see who's catching for the Yankees. It's not supposed to be Sanchez today, but I'm curious if with all these little toys back, if they weren't going to want to throw out all their guys. So if they do throw Sanchez in there as well, I think you could play Sanchez. But did we get a Yankee lineup already? Actually, I didn't notice it, but it may have happened while we were on.
I didn't check.
No, it's not out yet. Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, I just think that's the other way to go is the Sanchez and the Yankee stack, or Severino with your Baltimore, and then you have your Atlanta guys. That's basically what I'm looking at, and then you could pay all the way down for Jeffers or potentially Caratini. That's pretty much Roberto Perez maybe against Leicester is actually a point per dollar wise makes a lot of sense at 2.7. That's sort of the pool that I'm looking at, but mostly it's going to be with stacks for me.
Okay.
You ready to go on?
Yes.
Okay. First base, who do you like?
So I'm getting into this. So I it's leading into my stack here. First of all, I would say that if Pavin Smith plays at 2,200, he's probably going to be a cheap value play. I like I'm going to like Cleveland, and I think I'm going to like Carlos Santana at first base as maybe my favorite first baseman as a result, or chicken and the egg, whatever it is. I do like him. Then if you wanted to spend up for Atlanta guys, yeah, I mean, if you want to spend up, you could go with Freeman, and those would be my two favorites.
Yeah, we're going to need some confirmation about this San Francisco situation because now I'm seeing people actually writing up guys from San Francisco. What is going on here? These guys flew home. There was on a thing about them flying home. To be honest, I don't like them enough anyway where I'm going to go there, but I mean, I wouldn't have minded Brandon Belt if there was a game there. I agree with you about Santana specifically. He's a guy who's always had power right-handed. You have Lester, who's been giving up a lot of hard contact this year, especially to righties, obviously, which he's going to switch hitter. So I think Santana's your point per dollar, everything. He's the easy guy to play. I like, look, like Pat Valaika, you can play at second base, but if you're playing Baltimore, in your Baltimore stacks, maybe you play Valaika at first base. I mean, it feels gross, but if you want to save in a couple of places, if you want to play Alberto at second, that's the only thing I was thinking, sort of. Other than that, it's, Voit is one of the best plays on, in terms of just overall. I think he's as likely to hit a home run as anybody at this position. He's expensive, but he's not crazy. So I would go Voit at the top, and Freeman I don't mind in the lefty-lefty.
Okay.
All right. Second base?
Second base on FanDuel is a disaster. And that's why Josh Rojas is going to be like really popular over there. Even though, he's probably not going to score that many fantasy points. I like paying up here if you can with your guy with Albies at 4,500. And if you don't want to do that, another guy that you had mentioned was Alberto at second base. If you want to do the Baltimore thing, which I like, and I would go back also to Odor from who I played yesterday. So those would be my favorites. I don't, if you want to play a 5-man stack with Arizona. You know what I mean? And just have Rojas in there to turn the lineup around because he does get walks and singles and stuff like that. I guess he's okay. But aside from that, I wouldn't use him as a one-off. So those are my guys, Alberto, Odor, and all the way at the top, Albies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much on the same page. I think you could play LeMahieu in stacks, and he's going to be lower owned because of the price. Maybe. Okay. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it works because he did have 700 fantasy points last night. I like Albies as I think he's going to be very contrarian if he's batting at the bottom of the order. If he's batting near the top, he might not be, but he does struggle more with lefties. I don't know how long this kid Aiken's going to be around anyway. I love Atlanta in general today, so I'm going to be looking to do a lot of that. I like Alberto on the other side of that game. And those are sort of my favorites. The real spend down that's the obvious one that's going to be the chalk, I think, is Altuve at 3.4.
Ooh.
I don't see how I could play Rojas ahead of him.
Right.
But Altuve, Solak, and Odor all make sense from a point per dollar standpoint, as well as Valaika, who I mentioned before. Those are sort of the guys I'd be using.
Yeah, I forgot about Altuve. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Altuve is just the pride. that Houston team, it is going to be interesting. I missed on them last night, but it would have been, they can put up some runs. These guys are all getting healthy. We'll see what happens anyway. All right, let's jump over to third. I know naturally we'd go to short, but actually it's just the way that I'm sort of looking at my screen now. Third base, what you got for me?
Third base is really spread out for me. You can go a lot. You can go a lot of different routes. If you want to play Minnesota, which I kind of do a little bit, I like Donaldson, and this is what I like to do. If I have guys that are like all really close, I'll probably just opt for the guys either with the most power if they're going to be in one-offs, or just see where they fit in the stacks. Because, for example, if you're going to play Altuve, I mean, Bregman's totally perfect. You know what I mean? Definitely play him. And if you're going to play these Atlanta guys, then Riley, I like him also. I don't know if I'll be able to afford Rendon. So those are probably the guys I'm going to be looking at. Escobar's cheap again. The Arizona guys are cheap. So those would be my favorites, I guess. Bregman if you're going to go with Altuve. Donaldson if you're going to go with some Minnesotas, and Riley if you're going to go with Atlantas.
Yeah, I get that. I like Riley the most. I think I'm just curious to see where the ownership's going to end up on Atlanta. And I mean, obviously they should be popular. They're that second highest run total, but I really like Riley quite a bit here. I don't mind if you want to use your Shella. Not just in the Yankee stack. I think that he's actually an okay player as a one-off too. Actually, depends on how the lineup shakes out, because we have Judge probably coming back. So we'll see what the lineup looks like for the Yankees. I guess that should wait. I think Jose Ramirez is an awesome tournament play. It's a lot to pay. I don't think I'm going to end up getting too much of it, but I think if you can get there, that's an interesting play. I'm finding myself more Riley, Donaldson, basically not really, and a little bit of Bregman. I don't really think I'm going to get too crazy. I think Urshela would be the other guy, but I don't really love anything else. I think that's it. Yeah, sorry. I was going to suggest somebody else, but I sort of bit my tongue. I think it's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention Rendon. Obviously, if you can afford Rendon, but it's just really hard.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, it's tough to get up there. All right, shortstops. Let's. I love Dansby, and I don't usually love him this much, but I really do. I don't really know who else I'm even considering, to be honest, the way that everything's working out for my lineups.
Yeah, so, I bring him up quite a bit. Boy, it's amazing. This guy, I think, was almost 2K a week or so ago. But Mondesi just doing really well. I don't know how he did against Boyd, but we knew that Boyd was a tough matchup for him. Not tough matchup, but didn't highlight his skill set really. But I like him. Swanson, yeah, like you mentioned. And if you wanted to play the that Detroit game a little bit, I mean, Nico Goodrum, I guess, is okay. And the other guy that I'm going to play, again, I told you that I'm going to be coming up with some Cleveland, so I might end up overspending for Lindor in this spot as part of a Cleveland stack. Just fair warning.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I agree. I think Swanson is good. So those four: Mondesi, Swanson, Goodrum, and Lindor.
Yeah, I'm just going to remind everybody, keep an eye on the wind in Chicago if it changes, and it does sometimes. I mean, if it does at all, and starts blowing out, you can really give a bump up to these Cleveland bats. It's sort of blowing side to side right now. All right, I actually do like Goodrum a little bit. By the way, I didn't say that one, but I guess he'd be the other guy I'm sort of considering here. But it's really I get Glaber in your Yankee stacks is good, but I don't, I just don't feel good about anybody really. It's really strange that I feel, and so I guess if you can afford him, Lindor, but Swanson and it's really mostly going to be Swanson for me on DraftKings. All right, it's weird because I usually love shortstop, and I just really don't feel that way tonight, especially because everybody who's good is really priced out. All right, moving to the outfield. You're going to have the chalky, potentially two-at-bat Jordan Luplow. Sheets, what are we doing here? You got lots of cheap value, lots of guys. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm using Luplow in my Cleveland stack for sure.
Yeah.
The other cheapos, which you could play cheapo, literal cheapo, Willie Calhoun at 2K.
Yep.
If he gets in. I prefer those two to the Jorge Bonifacio, Edward Olivares, Delano DeShields triumvirate. I would go with a 2K Tavares, maybe. But aside from that, the guys you can pay up for is I think Ozuna is actually my favorite with respect to those types of guys. But there's so many ways you can go. I'm not hedging here, but I mean, if you play that Houston stack, I mean, Brantley's kind of tough to leave out at 3,300, and then those other Baltimore values. I don't know if I could ever pay 6,300 for a player, so I don't know if I would go Trout.
Yeah, I think maybe you want. I sort of like Mercado also from Cleveland. The Byron Buxton, and I don't think you probably want to be part of a stack, but I'm just throwing it out. He's red hot right now. I like Justin Upton as a one-off. I like Mountcastle as a part of my Baltimore stack. And if we get DJ Stewart in the lineup today, batting 6th, 7th, probably where he would batting in a lefty spot, I don't mind using him either at 2.4 as a part of that stack. I'm not really sure how long Hamels expects to be around tonight. He hasn't pitched in a very long time. So I'm sort of into this idea of of getting these Baltimore bats. So I might do a little bit of that. And that's, those are my sort of spending down thing. In terms of the guys I'd really want to pay up for, I'd love to get to Trout, but I don't think I can do it. I'd love to get Acuna, but I don't think I can do it. I think that I'm finding myself more in the Ozuna range because of the pricing, and I don't think I'm going to be alone in that. I think it's going to be pretty popular. If you want to look for a reason to not play Marcell Ozuna, just look at almost all the home runs he's hit in his career have been off righties. But that's, it's changed a little bit, and his numbers have actually look really good in advanced numbers against lefties now. So it just used to be the old story with Ozuna, so I thought I'd throw it out there. Luis Robert is cheap. George Springer is somebody who's cheap. I love Adam Duvall tonight, pretty much regardless of where he's hitting in that Atlanta lineup. And those are mainly the guys I'm using. It's not really getting too creative for me, but I do think that I can get lower ownership on these guys in some of these spots. I think George Springer, if I were playing a lineup where I really just had one lineup and I, just wanted who's the best play per price, I think it would be Springer and Duvall would be the guys who are in that middling range. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk some stacks. Sheets. Who are we stacking up?
Yeah. You could be a real wise guy and take Minnesota in a really, really difficult matchup. But I would do that more if I thought that Giolito was going to be popular, which he won't. So
I don't know that you're ready that he won't.
I'm sorry?
I'm starting to hear some things that other people are talking about playing him. I saw a projection and it was not a reliable thing, but it had him at 30%. And I was like, how is that really happening exactly? But I think that was actually a FanDuel projection. And even that still seemed pretty high to me, though. So we might not be alone in just, people might play Giolito. I just want to point out that he's got the worst umpire for pitchers on this slate.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try a little bit of Minnesota, especially on FanDuel where you can get Kepler at really, really cheap. So I'm gonna do something over there. With respect to Minnesota, oh, by the way, some guy we didn't mention at second base, by the way, there's a guy that's I think starting for Minnesota today, maybe, who was called up, who from what I read really quickly had some power in the minors.
Yeah.
I forgot his name, but the second base 2K guy at second base on DraftKings.
It's Blankenhorn.
Yeah, Blankenship, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
So that's something you might want to consider. And so I'm going to play a little bit of that, but I do think that my favorite is going to end up being Cleveland, only because I think Houston and Atlanta are going to just really garner the majority of the ownership. And if I'm going to play stuff like DeGrom and Cole, or even Cole and the McCullers, right? Whatever. Yeah. I'm gonna need to differentiate some way. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get away with it with taking Atlanta, Houston. I know that you're really good at finding those pockets of ownership discounts within the chalkier stack somehow. I always end up getting that in the chalk somehow. So that's my initial take. Is probably Cleveland going to be my main pivot stack, and maybe some Minnesota and unless you can, and again, I don't know if I can't do a full Baltimore stack. If you want to know the truth, I'll take a couple of guys out of that, but that's probably where I'm gonna end up going.
Yeah, I like the Baltimore mini stack, and I like the Atlanta full stack. I'm okay. I'm open to the Twins. If I was playing a bunch of lineups, maybe I would. The Twins and White Sox are sort of those teams that I was sort of thinking more 2 or 3 man stacks. But even the White Sox, I could see going after them today just with the heart, how much power they have. And Odorizzi has been reverse splitsy in the past, and I think they get after him. Um, I'm not going to stack Arizona up tonight or mini stack them like other people might. I just think it's going to mostly be Braves, Yankees, and again, I feel like I'm going to miss on Houston if I don't do it tonight. But I might have to just do that because I do like Houston. I just think I'm mostly just going to keep it neat and stick with Yankees and Braves and try and do it in an unusual way, mixing in Baltimore bats. So we got John Diaz in chat, says, what's up? John, what's up, man? Sorry to anybody who watched yesterday. It wasn't that we were so bad or off. Like, we even talked about the Yankees a little bit, but we really didn't get it right yesterday. And I didn't get the basketball right. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to have games like that. But, yesterday was certainly not the finest hour, so I'm not as surprised we don't have quite as many people in chat as we usually do. But want to say what's up to John. He's a loyal guy, a loyal follower. And, John, fire in any QQs or any thoughts you have about tonight's slate or golf this weekend or anything.
I'll tell you what my comment was on yesterday is that what was frustrating about yesterday was that the main thing that Bobby specifically, I wasn't as onto this as Bobby was, that he got right was the most important thing to get right, and which was a little annoying that we couldn't take advantage of it because he was literally playing zero Coors and basically Coors put up 0 fantasy points. And when you get that kind of an edge, honestly, on the field, like if I knew that I was going to play 0 Coors, you could basically almost play anything, right? And probably be plus EV. So the fact that we weren't able to get it done with that big overall macro call was that was the frustrating thing. And you're going to be wrong in individual plays like a lot, but that's a little bit frustrating. The thing that I was, again, spend too much time on this, but two things that I was a little bit annoyed about myself. Actually, one was results oriented. I am a little bit surprised that everybody else on the planet got Arizona right. You know what I mean? That everybody was so sure that Arizona was such a great play, and they actually put up 10 runs or whatever the hell they did. So good for them. But the thing that I was really just disappointed in myself was that I put a little sticky note in my brain, right? Reminding myself to circle back to the Yankees, circle back to the Yankees, circle back to the Yankees, and I just left them. I just totally forgot they were even playing. I blame Dish Network, because as I mentioned, that I can get like 7,000 games on my TV. I don't even get the Yankees. So it's I blame Dish Network for turning me off of not reminding me to play the Yankees.
Yeah, and I forgot. Speaking of that, I did this. I sort of did a similar thing, so I just feel like an idiot. But I do want to point out that we got more time and relax. We can talk about stuff on the show. But I just realized that Aaron Judge is probably the best play on the slate. I forgot that he was down at 4.8K now. That's just kind of ridiculous. And the projection systems are going to be like weird about him until they confirm he's in the lineup, which is odd because they've already announced that he's activated, and I think he's going to. Anyway, interesting. I do think that Aaron Judge, there's just 4,800 for Aaron Judge is just absurd, man. I'm sorry. I don't know how you don't do it, but the problem is he's going to be pretty popular. I'm guessing. So. Yeah, the Yankee stack is really awesome today. It's just I think that you're going to get a lot more ownership on it today than you did yesterday. Let's see. John says, how do we get a good amount of Braves or Yankees in along with Cole? Feels impossible. So I'm guessing by that you mean on FanDuel. I think, let me see, the pricing on FanDuel for some of these Yankees. Look, it's
Yankees. He's talking about the Braves or Yankees?
Oh, I'm sorry. My fault. Braves or Yankees, he said. Yeah. So you could do it. You've got to just play the value guys. There are, let me just grab my notes here. I don't have my FanDuel called up right now, so let me do that real quick.
You know what you do? It's so funny. It's interesting because when I first looked at the slate, I said to myself, I can't play Cole and DeGrom or anybody like that together.
He's on FanDuel.
So no, I know that. And then what I found is that when I actually started making lineups, I felt, you know what, I was wrong. I can. So I think what you should do, John, is when you say, boy, it feels like you can't play Braves or Yankees with Cole, just try it. I'm telling you, you could do it. FanDuel, first of all, is always soft. You can almost always get what you need. You could end up you could play like there's a lot of FanDuel guys you could fit in. I don't know. I think
go ahead. I've got some home runs for you from FanDuel that are cheap. Austin Riley, Justin Upton. You could play Luplow. He's going to be the popular one at 2.2. Willie Calhoun. Again, we could mention he's 2.2 over on FanDuel. Again, your guy Rojas. I'm not as big a fan person, but I get it. Even guys like Kepler are cheap over there. Santana's cheap over there. Donaldson's cheap over there. Duvall is fairly reasonable over there. There's a lot of ways to mix it up. And actually, you could stack Atlanta really cheap over there. We're not really cheap, but cheap enough, certainly. If you want to get Ozuna and Acuna in, it's a little tough, but it's pretty easy. I think you're pretty good.
You could play Franmil Reyes at 2,900.
Yeah. I don't like Franmil Reyes very much today, but I'm okay with it, But, of course, that means he's going to hit a home run because every time Sheets says his name, for some reason, he seems to hit a home run.
I'm on his payroll. He pays me to say his name whenever he really needs me.
All right. But, yeah, I think overall it's a pretty straightforward slate. I would just say keep an eye on ownership, keep an eye on the wind in Chicago. Those are the sort of things that could dictate a little bit of a change in this slate. And honestly, the weirdest part is maybe throw out the projections, and if you're going to play multiple lineups, maybe throw in a White Sox stack in there. I just got a feeling a little bit today that it's just going to get ignored, and I don't really see – I don't think they're in that bad of a spot against Odorizzi maybe just throwing 60. Who knows? I think they're going to have to work Odorizzi back in. He can't throw that many pitches. He hasn't pitched in a month and a half or whatever.
Right.
And he hadn't pitched 5 innings then. So you got basically a bullpen game against a team with a ton of power that is actually kind of reasonably priced on well, not reasonably. They're expensive on FanDuel, but they're not the same thing. You could play Grandal over there at only $3K, would be probably the best value. But they're expensive, but it's not certainly doable. All right, let's see. If we had to pick White Sox or Twins, honestly, I would pick the White Sox as the better stack. But I think you're picking on Giolito versus Odorizzi. It's always going to be the White Sox for me there, but I do think that, the Twins have pretty good history against Giolito. That's the only argument there. But I would pick the White Sox. All right.
I agree with that, by the way, even though I'm going to play the Twins. I think just player versus player. I think the White Sox are in a better spot than the Twins, obviously.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump over to golf. You want to talk a little bit of golf?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk real quick about this because I went through, after we did our golf show this morning, and I went through my ownerships and I went through everything. I really like where I ended up. Like, I don't feel like, I think we're, one of our guys that we both like, but you really like, you mentioned before on our other show, is Victor Hovland, and I think you're going to get good ownership on him. I think there's a lot of spread out ownership out there, and there's only a couple guys that are really popular that I like a lot. So I feel pretty good, at least about my game theory aspect of golf. Now, who knows how everybody's going to play, but that was just sort of I felt good after looking back through it. How about you? Who are your top sort of, I guess we can talk about tiers again, but we already mentioned it a little bit, but at the top, I love Morikawa and Schauffele. Then the 10 plus K range, I have Justin Thomas, then followed by Rory and Rahm. For me, I'm kind of fading a little bit of DJ this week. That's sort of where I'm at. How about you?
Yeah, I thought more about Rory and Bryson, and I'm just not going to play them. Not that I don't think they could put up a number and play well. I just feel as though that Rory is going to get his game back first in like a weaker field. It's just that's just the way I feel about it, and so I'm just not going to play him. He's going to beat me. The other guy I'm not going to play Dustin Johnson. Just goes against my nature. What can I tell you? Guy's coming off a zillion wins, and yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to play Bryson. You can make an argument for him because he's got such distance that if he can straighten it out, he's going to have such a huge edge over everybody else. But I just don't think I'm going to play him. I am really into Hovland. First of all, remember, this was his coming out party last year, right? He was either the leading amateur or was second or something like that. And this is his first one as a pro, man. I think he might be looking. He might have been looking for this, and he might have even been playing on nasty rough in preparation. I'm into this, man. I don't think he's going to win because remember, winning is tough. And when you're playing 8K guys, you have to understand that. And that's why. For those of you looking to make balanced builds with a lot of 8K guys, I thought about this a lot too. You could play like 6 really good-looking 8,200 guys and be really, really chilled and probably have 5 of them make the cut, maybe a 6th too, and you think that you have a chance, but those guys that you really need finishing position, I think, to win this, and I really think you need to win the tournament, and I just think that it's going to be one of those guys between Thomas, Rahm. Obviously Roy has a chance, right? So those types of guys. Webb, Xander. I think one of those guys is going to win the whole thing. So I think you want to have one of those guys.
I just want to point out, though, with having said that, there's been 3 millionaire winners since the restart that didn't have the winner in their lineup. So
yeah, but again, we didn't debate this, but I came up with a take, kind of give the alternate take towards the end of
okay, yeah.
With the idea that this type of course, it's kind of like it's not really like a triple eagle type of course. You grind it out and hopefully make a par, take a bogey, maybe make a birdie here or there. That's just the way it happens because you go into that deep rough, you just freaking just chip it out and then you just kind of play for par or bogey. And I think that the guys that get eagle doubles or whatever, I don't think that there are going to be as many of those in here, which is going to really reward finishing position a little bit more. So while most of the Millie Maker had these, maybe had guys that didn't crack the winning lineup, I just don't think that's going to be the case in this one.
Yeah, I think that it's a really good point this specific week too, because like you're not, the positioning is going to matter more because you're not getting those other points. That's basically a good way to put it. I just real quick, because I didn't go through the 9K range. My preferences in that range are Matsuyama down all the way at 9K, followed by Berger, but I don't have I probably am just going to be about with the field on Berger, and probably with the field on Cantlay as well. Below the field on Finau, below the field on Webb, and probably with the field or ahead of the field a little bit on Bryce, just because he's going to be so low owned. I love Tommy Fleetwood, as I mentioned on our other show. I think Tommy Fleetwood's an awesome long shot bet to win the tournament. I really do. I love the price. I've been waiting for the breakout from him for a while. He took a little break and went back to play the European Tour. Came in third over there in the last one. He's 8.9. It's not like he needs to win you the tournament anyway. I love him. He's the guy I'm rolling with in this 8K tier range. I kind of have to stay on brand with him anyway because I always seem to find myself loving Tommy Fleetwood. I also had a dream that I won $1 million last year when I first started playing golf, and Tommy Fleetwood wasn't even playing the tournament. But I had a dream that Tommy Fleetwood won a major and it won me $1 million. So I kind of always have to play him at these situations, which sounds nuts, but I actually like him anyway. I think he's good on these courses, good in wind, good on tough courses. I think he'll actually be really solid. So Tommy Fleetwood, followed by Patrick Reed in this range, and then down at I love Hatton and Hovland. I'm not quite as into Fitzpatrick as you were, but I do think he's okay as well. I prefer Hatton and Hovland big time.
I like Hatton, and if you're gonna dip around into the low 7Ks, I think that the guys that we both kind of, well, I say both, but we both kind of at least talked about were going to be Ches Reavie, who you said who might get some ownership. Actually, got a lot of ownership last year.
All right, let's stick with what about the 7K range first?
Oh,
I'm just trying to go by range, and I'm just losing track a little bit.
Oh, okay.
We got the 8Ks through, right? You mentioned those guys that you liked, and you haven't done this, but you still like Fitzpatrick, right?
I do. I mean, now I will tell you that it's not the greatest course fit for him because again, I like the guys that can hit it a little bit. But he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'm surprised that as many people are onto him this week because of the course fit, but he's a guy I thought I could maybe take a shot at low ownership here because he actually plays, another guy who plays pretty decent on tough courses. So, but he doesn't have the driving that these other guys do.
So with the below 8Ks, I mean, we talked about this off air. I think that I don't know off air, but we talked about the idea of probably maybe expert players like stacking styles, like people would stack like big hitters or stack versus win guys or whatever, just hoping that they all correlate in the right course conditions. With that said, I think two sub 8K guys that I like are totally different profiles. I like Matt Wolff, and on the other end of the spectrum, I like Brendan Todd. I like both those guys for I guess different reasons. I think Matt Wolff can. He's going to bomb away and he's a young guy and I like him a lot and the 7,700 and all that. And Brandon Todd is just, he doesn't have the distance, but he's been so consistent into the fairway that, I'll take my chance. I don't need him to win the tournament. He comes in 16th or something like that. I'm a freaking hero. So I think that, those are my two favorite guys under there. Harris English is the third guy, but I made him a little bit behind, pretty similar actually to those three. So it's going to be Todd, Wolf, and English for me below 8K.
Gotcha. All right. I like those. I like the guys you mentioned. I love Oosthausen. He's my highest owned guy in the 7K range. I don't like this range as much as most other ranges. I'm okay with Woodland, and I like Wolf. The problem I'm worried about with Wolf is I think he'll have decent ownership, and I think that in the wind, I'm a little nervous about him. But I still think overall you're getting a bargain for a guy who's on his way to being one of the best players in the world and is probably closer than he's getting credit for right now. Just a little bit streaky, which I'm happy to embrace. Brendan Todd I love, and I'm just going to keep riding with him. But I don't think I'm he's not the best play in the world, but I think he's a very solid play. I think he makes the cut and makes a decent enough run here to actually be valuable. I really like him. Neiman is another guy who I have some interest in. I've sort of waned a little bit on some of my interest, but I do like Neiman. I think that sort of in the Hovland mold, another really good young guy that I do think is on the way up and doesn't really get the credit for how well he's played because he's had a couple bad rounds mixed in, but mostly he's been pretty solid. Poulter is sort of the low owned. It's not going to be low owned. Like initially, I think I saw him at like 0.5%, and all of a sudden it's like 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. But I do sort of like Poulter. I think he's a decent bet at the bottom. I'm not really that into anybody else until we get down to Alex Noren, who I absolutely loved. This kid has actually been, or not kid, this guy has actually been like awesome lately, and no one sort of noticed him. And he's pretty good with bogey avoidance. I'm gonna just keep playing the hot streak, and he's gonna be unowned at 71. So that's my entire 7K range.
Huh.
Hey, John, I appreciate that. That's what our job is, or my job is anyway. Sheets doesn't have any excuse. He just has somehow has able to handle like 50 different things. But I appreciate you saying that we're good at well versed in a lot of different sports. We kind of have to be. So if we aren't, we'd be giving out bad information. That'd be a bummer. Guys, remember, if you are watching this now or later, like and subscribe. Drop in any questions, all that stuff. Make sure to follow BetQL. These guys are giving out great football information every day, and I just think you'll help yourself. It'll pay for its subscription in no time. Use the promo code BobbyFi. Sheets, let's jump down to the below 6K range real quick before we finish up.
Yeah, Plastic is really annoying. So what I do when I look at the 6K range is I re-rank all my guys in points per dollar, right? Just to kind of see where whatever. And what's annoying is that because usually the best points per dollar players are just going to be the cheapest plays. That's just kind of the way DFS works. And so normally that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing like 10 guys, 8 or 9 guys under 6K. But the two guys that I see that are like just straight point per dollar plays, like that are just within this range there's guys. One guy we didn't mention, that was Patrick Reed, and he's going to be chalky as a result of this. But also the guy you mentioned was Tyrell Hatton. So of the best point per dollar plays, those two guys are actually like decent upside golfers. But as far as the sub 7Ks, my three favorites are going to be still Kokrak, Munoz, and Brian Harmon. Those are going to be my three favorites.
Yeah, I like Streelman, Harmon. I'm getting into Van Ruyen, and I love Chez Reavie. That's pretty much my guys. And I'll mix in a little bit here and there and all that stuff. But I think I've got a good feel. I like when I'm not totally with the chalk, but I have enough of the chalk in my lineups. And I just feel good, like in golf in general, like just being able to fade Dustin Johnson and Jon Rahm and hoping they don't win. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not that crazy of a thing to happen. And yet, if you take like maybe when you add them with Justin Thomas, if none of those guys win, those guys are going to make up like, or throw in Schauffele in there. They're going to make up like half the lineups, or more than that. Basically, that means if you pick anybody else, you're limited to half the field. It's pretty interesting with golf, and I'm just getting more and more into it. But it's definitely going to be a lot of fun this weekend. We've got football coming up tomorrow, so you guys make sure to stay with us. I want to go on a quick rant about just something real quickly. I know it's been hard to get people between our channel and then the QLTV thing, and we want to make this work with QLTV. We want to get you guys in here regularly. I'm a little frustrated at not, we get people dropping in and out, and I know we sometimes have up and down days. It's what happens. You know what I mean? You're going to have good days and bad days in DFS. But we're doing this stuff for free, and everybody is like, I don't know, I feel like since the bubble, I think that partly what happened, I love DraftKings, and by the way, I love DraftKings stock, which is shooting through the roof right now. That's the stock that I still have any of right now. But I'm so irritated by this lack of middling tournaments, which I think they've eliminated casual players into playing these just ridiculously huge field, crazy GPPs. And I just don't like that. I don't like what they're doing. I don't like the tournaments they're offering. I think it's been terrible for golf this week. I think it's terrible it's been terrible for baseball. It's been pretty bad for NBA. And I hope they fixed it, because you're going to lose your audience at some point. I mean, you're not going to lose them entirely, obviously. But what you've got now is basically everybody, maxing out things, or you don't have casual players, which as a pro, that does hurt me a little bit. But on top of it, like, wouldn't you want to, I spent my whole life like trying to help these people, and that's what we're doing. And they're not giving them a real fair chance to win, in my opinion. And I feel like they need to make some changes. Now, obviously, I don't have any sway, so I'm not worried about talking smack about DraftKings, and their stock going down or anything. But I love the company. I love what they've done overall. I just feel like make some tournaments winnable for like the average players. And honestly, it doesn't even totally include me. Some of it does. I like the middle range tournaments that are large field and that stuff. That part, it includes me. What about the middle range tournaments that are just like you can beat a couple hundred people, and they're sort of running all the time? They're just not good options for people with playing $20, $30 here, but want to actually have a chance rather than putting it in a tournament with 100,000 people. And I just feel like they need to get back to that. I don't like when they alienate people. They're charging us enough of a rake as it is. So get it together and like let's cater to the everyman.
Well, give me an example. Like, what type of stuff would you do?
The $44, like, okay, so for me, the ones I don't like I used to like when they had the $66 tournaments that would lead to, that would have $20,000 to $100,000 first place prizes. Those actually were big shot tournaments or whatever. But I like being able to play multiples of those and not needing to have, risk $50,000 a day to do it. Like, you kind of have to if you're going to max enter all these things. I like the other ones that, they have the $20 3 max, which is a good one on the home plate on DraftKings. That's a good example. But what about like a more middling tier one or more of those, or more single entries that are $20, $40, things like that? They used to have tons of this. It was like endlessly available. And now there's just not the same thing. There's like the one a day. There's the one mid-range jumper in basketball instead of having like 10 different variations of those things. And there's no reason for them not to. And honestly, most good DFS players in the world right now are complaining about the same thing. I don't think I'm alone at all in this.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it bothers me. It just, I feel like when you start losing, I mean, look, you're playing enough against the odds with the rake anyway. It's really, really like, it's annoying that they're just making it like this, just all glory or nothing. Like, I mean, I don't want to just play tournaments where I win $1 million or I win nothing. It's hard to win $1 million. You might play your whole life. Look at guys like, I don't even know if guys like Osimo has ever won the Millionaire. Like, I mean, he does it every single one. So you can play forever in the most entries and still not win that specific tournament. I would like to have some other options of tournaments I can win. I don't know for sure about that about Osimo, by the way. I know that was true at one point, but I don't know if it's true anymore.
You know what I would like? I actually don't mind predictability. In other words, what I always liked about poker was the MTT, the tournaments, is that I knew every day what the schedule was going to be. I knew what the buy-ins were going to be. I knew when they were going to be. I knew all of that. I knew that every week there was the 100 rebuy and whatever it was, right? And I like to know, you know what I mean, that every day there's going to be like I don't know, like the slam or whatever it is. But they change the buy-in sometimes, and sometimes, like you said, you don't even know. Like, you go there and one day you're like, ooh, there's a lot of good stuff, and another day you're like, what the hell happened to all this? I think what's going on, I mean, I could be wrong because I really don't know the business as well as maybe I could, is, with all of these sports and all these buy-ins, I really think that they're trying to, not to be cruel about this, I think they're really trying to delay people's loss of all their money. You know what I mean? I think that they're just not, they would rather just kind of spread it out over time for whatever reason. And if they make too many
That's the opposite of what they're doing, in my opinion.
You think so? Yeah.
I think that's what they're doing. And also you look at I'm saying make some of the tournaments that are single entry 10% rake without having to pay forever. You don't need to make everything 16%. This is ridiculous. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's too greedy. It's not necessary. I don't care what your overhead is or how fast you're trying to grow. You're a massive company. You're going to stay being a massive company. It's not just DraftKings, by the way. FanDuel has some absolutely bizarre stuff like this as well. I know there was site hiccups and stuff like that before, but like, get this stuff straightened out. There's no reason not to. I just feel like there's so many average players. And by the way, the funny part is the average players probably don't realize how much it's hurting them. because it's a lot easier to win, a single entry tournament, obviously, than it is other tournaments. And not having enough options for these guys, it does hurt. I do think it's smart what they do. I can't play anything below $5 on FanDuel and DraftKings after you win a certain amount. And that makes sense. Those are one of the good things they do.
You can't play the four-seamer on DraftKings?
I can play if the prize pool is over, if it's 50, 100,000 or something like that. So I can usually play that one.
Okay.
That's the only one. But I mean, literally up till last week, I was playing satellites on FanDuel on certain that were under $5, and it sucks because I've literally won satellites into $1,500, $3,000 tournaments with $1 or $2, and turned into $100K, and I can't do that anymore. But I think it makes sense because you're giving the average players a better chance.
Right.
But and then one last quick thing is I don't know what is going on in terms of the in and out with people following. I think it's just really this in relation to the days. I know that when we have NBA days, we get a lot more people in chat. I know that when there's NFL stuff, I know we'll get people talking about that, but it might not be directly live. It'll be a lot more people watching after. I think we've had that experience. So me and Sheets will do a video, and we'll do the show tomorrow, and we'll talk some NFL then. We'll probably touch it more on Friday. But I just wanted to say, guys, give us the love, give us the support. Tell the BetQL people these guys are doing their job. I'm not getting anything from this. Nobody's paying me right now. This is us doing this, and nobody's paying Sheets. We're doing this for free because we believe that we have something to offer. We've made a lot of people a lot of money, and all we're asking for is you guys to like our videos and support us and come in and join and have some fun. That's it. Sorry, I want a little bit of a rant today. Sorry, Sheets. Sheets gets all quiet when I talk about this stuff, but I need to rant every now and then. Otherwise, I get a little too pent up.
Fine.
All right, Sheets, how about any final thoughts regarding either this slate or the other? I'm really excited about the NFL coming up this weekend. I'm sure you are because you're the big freaking winner over there. Anything you want to drop for the people before we get out of here?
No, I'm kind of looking forward to football a little bit too. To give you guys a little bit of a preview. This is going to be an ugly slate.
Football.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I found very little offense this week.
Yeah. Okay. I think it makes me feel good. I think I have a little bit of an interesting take on that, which we'll get into in our show tomorrow. But
okay.
Guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with us, those of you who are there. Again, just a reminder, like and subscribe. Check out the things at BetQL. These guys will make you your money back in no time. The app is awesome. Give it the 5 stars on there, too. We want to make sure that they have good ratings. And they're doing all this stuff for free. They're putting all this extra work in, and we're getting out the information for free. So you don't have to sign up. If you do, use the promo code BobbyFi for 20% off. But until then, let's keep making some money, and let's keep making these shows fun. And, I appreciate you guys listening to me. And, Sheets, good job as usual. Guys, we'll see you at the top of the leaderboard tonight. We're out of here.